Hello and welcome again, Taekwondo practitioners, instructors, and enthusiasts from all around the world. I welcome in particular all our ITF official grandmasters and masters. My name is Gustavo Libon, and I'm your moderator for this session. Today is a truly historic day, April 11, 2025, marking 70 years of Taekwondo. Whether you are joining us from Asia, Europe, the Americas, Africa, or Oceania, we are honored to have you here for this 24 hours global online celebration. As you know, Taekwondo is more than just martial art. It's a philosophy, a way of life, and a force that unites people across cultures, languages, and generations. From the moment General Choi Hong-hee founded Taekwondo in 1955, it has spread to every corner of the world, empowering millions through discipline, perseverance, and indomitable spirit. And today, as we celebrate over 7 decades of our beloved martial art, it is no coincidence that this event lasts 24 hours, just like the 24 patterns of Taekwondo, each representing the 24 hours of a day, symbolizing the entirety of a life dedicated to self-improvement, learning, and perseverance. Within the 24 hours of our online celebration event, you will experience insightful discussions, live training sessions, and stories from Taekwondo legends. Our esteemed speakers will explore the rich history of our art and the exciting future that lies ahead. Whether you are here to learn and connect or simply be inspired, this event is for you. Without further ado, let's go started. In this 21 session, we started with the 21 to the 24th pattern, which is Moon Moon. Another very impressive presentation, this time by Ariela Figueroa from Finland, USA. And this pattern represents this hour of our 24-hour global celebration. And now it's time for our next speaker. For this session, we will share the time with Master LeGrow from the United States. Welcome, Master. Thank you very much for the team. And he will be sharing the concepts of creating a culture of excellence, how to engage and retain a student longer. Let's properly welcome our speaker, please, and bow to Master. Please, Chariot, Kunet.
Big one.
Sir, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. ITF committees and the ITF Board of Directors, Grandmaster Weiler, thank you for putting this together and giving me the platform to be able to share with everybody things that I'm incredibly passionate about at this point in my Taekwondo journey. Just to start off with a little bit about myself, I started Taekwondo as a little kid in a YMCA in 1985 and have been training really hard since then. It was the first thing in my life, I guess, I was truly addicted to. And that goes from training to competition to, attending as many IICs as I can. So many IICs, I can't even fit the certificates on my wall anywhere anymore. I need a new house just for the IIC certificates. And so at this stage in my life, I run a full-time Taekwondo school, and my passion is to ensure that our legacy of Taekwondo persists by having strong schools going across the world. So I like sharing with instructors, school owners, and anybody who is interested in developing a Taekwondo career, as I've been following my whole life since the age of 11 when I knew I wanted to be a Taekwondo instructor. And so without going further, I'm going to be going through some business concepts today, which I'm going to try and share with everybody. This particularly is how we're doing things in the United States. So some concepts might be a little bit different, or the strategies might be different in a different part of the world. So I ask everybody in advance to be a little bit open-minded, because the idea is if you have a culture of excellence within the school, the students will stay more engaged. And as we know, in this time in our lives, children, teenagers, and even adults are addicted to technology a lot more than they're addicted to coming to class. So my goal is to help you, or at least contribute some value to everybody out there, where you might have an idea from what I'm presenting, you might like some of my ideas, and hopefully it inspires further thought into making all of our schools better, happier, more engaging, but also rising the level of Taekwondo up as we go into the future. So I'm going to share my screen and get started. Can everybody see? I just want to make sure. A lot of people, I can't really see. We see? Okay, wonderful. So yeah, that's my school logo at the top, Warrior Code Taekwondo Academy. I have two main programs. I have a Taekwondo program, which is for 7 and over, and I have a Little Warriors program, which is from ages 4 to 6. So a little bit about my session is about building a strong and positive culture in the dojang that not only improves the student retention, which means they stay longer, but it also enhances attention to detail and helps them with their overall student growth. So first, like I said, I'm gonna dive into a few business terms that we use here to try and help you understand some of the metrics, some of the data that we use to determine the health of the school. Because if the school is not healthy, like any instructor that is going to step on the mat, if you're worried about the financial or the growth of the school, it's sometimes harder to teach a really good class. Now, again, I'm a full-time school owner, so I am always teaching like 20, 30 classes a week. And so maybe not everybody is running to the same level, but however, this might be useful for you if you one day have those aspirations. Then I'm going to show you some of the issues that we face as a school owner in today's society, which is basically puts the stress into running a school. And I'm going to try and show you some, how do I word it? Show you some systems we've come up with to fix problems to keep the students engaged more. So I'll start with some of the business terms. You can see them at the side. You can see MRR, which stands for monthly recurring revenue. To explain that, that is when a student pays a membership, that's their monthly membership. And therefore, when you have a student who is registered and they pay every month, that's what you're looking forward to. Over the counter, OTC, is for when they buy a dobok or they buy sparring gear, mouth guard, t-shirt. if they're going to do promotion testing and they're going to pay for their testing fee. Anything that's a one-time sale is an over-the-counter sales. And then, of course, gross, not like gross, we don't like money, but in order to pay bills and pay staff and have a career to provide for your family, we look at the overall gross sales, which is the combination of your monthly recurring revenue and your over-the-counter sales. Now, at the bottom, you see ARM, leg, and LTV. ARM stands for the average revenue per member. The leg stands for the length of engagement. And we're going to be more talking about the length of engagement and the lifetime value of a student today. Understanding the terms of how we use for growing a school, we have something called a lead. A lead is someone who gives you their information. They're interested in your program, so they give you their information in exchange for learning more about your dojang. A trial is somebody who signs up from a lead position. They're testing the program out. They're not yet ready to make a big commitment, but they're looking at your school with interest. And then, of course, the goal is to convert them from being a trial member to being a full member, someone who decides, let's make that commitment and let's get into class. Churn is a word we don't like. Churn is when we lose people, and basically people who want to quit or leave the program. But we'll get into that as well. So if you want to learn more about the business side, and that's why I'm going to get away from that, I take a lot of courses and I have a lot of information, so you can take my information down, and if you want to learn more about those terms and how those terms apply in some of those systems, please feel free to message me, because now I'm going to dive into the culture part. So the first problem is it's a small stick rate. In the United States, and these are numbers for the United States, so they might not apply everywhere in the world, fitness clubs have a problem keeping people actively training in fitness clubs. The average fitness club only keeps their members for 7 to 9 months. This is a problem. This is why people are not in shape. This is why people are less happy. Martial arts schools, it's around an average of 7 to 11 months. So this means that people are not staying long in their activities. So if you want to figure out what the length of engagement, if you have a dojang and you want to figure it out, you get your student roster or student list, make a column of when they started, and then figure out how many months they've been training for. Basically add up the total number of months of all the students training, and then divide it by the number of students that you have in your dojang. And that will give you your LEG, your leg. That's the length of engagement. Just to give you some transparency, this is like my school's financials for the last 3 months. So you can see like my leg is anywhere between 31 or 30.7 and 31.62. So while the average school loses their students every 11 months and has a new school every 18 months, my students stick around a lot longer. And so when you see the LTV, the lifetime value, basically what you're doing is you're taking the average revenue per member, you're multiplying it by the number of months that they averagely stay, and that's how much you know every student is worth when they walk in your door. So imagine when a lot of instructors stop paying attention to certain students, oh yeah, they're bored, or this person's, we just leave them alone. Sometimes we lose, in our culture, we lose those students and we have to keep finding new students to replace them. But when we understand that losing a student can be very expensive, it's cheaper to keep a student than it is to find a new one. I'll go through that. The second issue is the high turnover rate. So, oh, this looks like, okay, sorry, my slide has a little. So a churn rate is the percentage of students that leave on a monthly basis. And so you'll see that, for instance, if you have 100 students and you lose 2, your churn rate is 2%. So we want to try and keep the churn rate down. And as you work on the culture, the churn rate will go down. So for instance, my churn rate was, if I go back, you would see it was between 2 and 4%. The average school is between 4 and 6% in the United States. So what's the problem? The problem is that the teaching and grading standards are not always transparent. A lot of instructors live inside of their own head, and their systems, the way that they run their schools, are not always mapped out through student manuals or pages on websites. They don't print their things. The parents are confused about the program and don't understand. And if the instructors don't communicate with their parents and children often, then it's left everything left unsaid is, well, how do I word this? The best reason why people quit is not because of what is said, but often what is not said. And so it leads to low retention rates, high quit rates, and of course, instructors burn out. When an instructor is struggling to keep their students in the door, it affects the energy of the instructor as well. So instructors burn out because kids quit, and kids quit because sometimes the instructor is burnt out. So first thing, we need to work on the culture. An expression from Peter Drucker, culture eats strategy for breakfast. A good culture shapes the student's journey. It keeps them excited. A strong culture equals better engagement. It increases retention, and it also helps with the confidence, both of the instructors, of the parents, of the kids. And so your dojang, or the dojang you're at, should be, the culture should be system-driven and results-based. Basically, we need to go back to remembering that we are here to always provide the service and provide the direction for the students. Be focused on them and what matters to them. The first step is, and I don't think a lot of dojangs actually have this. When I look at different dojangs websites, I don't often see a mission statement or core values or even a vivid vision for the business. And so I know that we say courtesy, integrity, perseverance, self-control, and indomitable spirit, but those are the tenets of Taekwondo. That's not necessarily what the school's core values are. And so it's really important, like a mission statement, like the power of a mission statement, like it tells you where you're going with your dojang, what your dojang is all about. And if you don't know where you're going, basically, I think this is a quote from Alice in Wonderland, but if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So it's really important to understand what your school is trying to do, what each instructor, why are they there to teach? So a mission statement defines that purpose and the why. It guides every decision from how you teach to how you lead your team. It gives your students, parents, instructors something to believe in, more than just, oh, we're learning self-defense, or we're learning Taekwondo, and so on. And then when your mission is clear, your culture can become magnetic. The mission statement for my school is to empower people to become the best versions of themselves, physically, mentally, and emotionally, one class at a time. So our mission is very clear. When people walk through the door, we want them to feel good. We want them in class to be mentally focused on what they're doing. And that's going to come out and you see how we run our program. And physically, the classes have to be physical. When you see the core values, everything will align. You should be posting your core values. Why? Because they set the expectations for behavior, effort, and attitude. They build trust with the families, community members, and people will know what you stand for. They attract your tribe for those that share your values and feel more connected and loyal. A lot of times we just try to sign up or we try to teach everybody. So one of the mottos that I used to run in my school was, anybody should try Taekwondo, but it's not going to be for everybody. And so this way, when you understand that some people are going to be a good fit for your culture, some people are going to be a better fit for someone else's culture. And so the core values of what you stand for help people identify with the direction that you want to take your dojo. And then visibility of the core values creates the accountability. When your values are visible, even the team of instructors that teach there are more likely to live with them. So the core values for Warrior Code in my school here in San Jose is kindness, treating all people with dignity and respect. Integrity, doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Courage, facing our challenges bravely or with bravery. Community, choosing the we over me mindset, meaning we're here to help each other out. Your most important person on the mat is your partner. You're responsible for their safety and for them improving. And of course, development, working hard and improving and growing constantly. The vivid vision paints a clear picture of what your business will look like and feel like in the future. So for school owners, it's important for your students and your team to understand what your vision is. A side note, in my area, about 2 miles radius around my school there used to be 5 dojangs. Five studios. One of them was Kung Fu, and two of them are Kung Fu. One of them, and then 3 of them are Taekwondo, 2 WT style, and mine, which is ITF. There's only 2 schools left. They all in the last 3 years shut down. And some of it is the economy, but some of it is that students didn't align with the vision of where that school was going. They didn't know, they didn't get the service, they didn't get the culture that they were looking for, and they never knew where the school was going in their path. So you align with your team with a vision, you build your community, and it holds you accountable to your vision. And then it answers questions like, what will the dojang look like in 1 year from now, in 3 years from now, in 5 years from now? We try to get students to make a 5-year commitment or 3-year commitment to black belt, or however long it takes you to teach them. But imagine if the dojang doesn't even have a vision of where it's going to be in 5 years. So it's important for the student to have trust to have those things as well. Why it's important? Well, it gives the instructor and staff direction. Yes, it gives the students and family something to believe in, and it helps you measure the progress too. So you can see 1 year from now, did we accomplish what we set out in our vision? Did we do things according to our mission and whatnot? And are we becoming the school we imagined? So it's very important to make yourself accountable to your vision as well. Systems. So this is where we start the culture. So a clear belt progression with defined goals. We figure out what each belt level means to us and what we are aiming for the students to become, and then students know what to expect. The parents will understand the roadmap because everything with us is transparent and published. The instructors don't have to reinvent the wheel. I don't know if for any school owners out there, I don't know if you know this, but according to Forbes, if you retain 5% more of your students, your school is 95% more profitable, which means you can pay your team, which means you can donate to the community when there's something wrong is happening. It means you can donate to different nonprofits, and you can be a force for change and good in your community. So it's not only cheaper to keep a good student, but it's also better for the mental and emotional health of the school. So our system, first, obviously, number 1, attend class regularly, but we don't need to cover that one. Number 2 is we have a thing called stripe testing. Now, this is going to be a little bit different, and I need everybody to kind of keep an open mind with me on this, because stripe testing, I'm not talking about yellow stripe or green stripe like 9th cup and 7th cup. We do something called chapter testing, but in our school, we address it as stripe testing, because kids like a visual reminder that they are doing well. Attend competitions and seminars. My school is very active. We have people on the national team from the last World Championship in Finland. We represented the US in both Slovenia and in Argentina World Cup. So our school is very active as well. Pass promotion test is number 4. Complete any redos, and I cannot wait to get into that one. It's something I believe a lot more of us in the Taekwondo world should do, and I have to thank, if he's on the call, Grandmaster and Dr. George Vitale, who is one of the instructors of my wife, where I learned this system. And number 6, attend graduation. And so graduation for us is a very important part of the system, and we'll get into that. So here's an example of the requirements for my students. And all my students understand first, there's an age requirement. So in order for them to go to yellow belt, they must be 7 years old. Now, this is not something I want to impose on everybody. Everybody who runs their own school, you can do it your way. I've noticed that as we get up to higher levels, we're getting younger and younger children that don't have the emotional intelligence for the belt color that they're wearing. So the idea is, once in a while, especially since we have age limits on 4th degree, 7th degree, and 9th degree, I put age requirements on my color belts so that they can also understand that sometimes, even though physically we are gifted, we still have to wait and develop patience through waiting nicely. And so we run 3 color belt testings per year, which is why a test cycle is 4 months. So white belt and yellow stripe are considered beginner ranks. Intermediate is yellow belt to blue stripe, so 8th cup to 5th cup. And then the advanced ranks are blue belt and above. However, I only put to red belt here because the black stripe test for us is considered a black belt testing. So it's not part of the color belt exam here. And so that's on a separate sheet. So as you can see, we have 5 different stripes. The first stripe is the fundamentals. We'll get into that. Patterns and step sparring is chapter 2. Sparring and self-defense is chapter 3. And the student's knowledge and understanding is chapter 4. And we've just started to incorporate the physical test as chapter 5 because too many students are not preparing themselves physically for the test until the last minute. And they're having trouble with things like push-ups, sit-ups, even though we do it in class on a regular basis. And so, as you can see, we also have special considerations. So if somebody is wanting to be more active in competitions and seminars, then they may reduce their wait time by 1 test cycle as a color belt. So students are expected to train regularly. This could mean anywhere from 1 to 5 times per week. I put this because some people run a community center and only have 1 day a week that they have class, while some people run a full-time school and are available 7 days a week. Each month we offer this stripe testing or chapter testing, and you can use stripes tape or you can use the passport book, and I have an example in this presentation that I will share with you. It is the student's responsibility to train hard and learn the material. It is the responsibility of the instructor to notice when the student is struggling. So our staff and our team doesn't just run classes like a fitness class. We have a 15-minute break between classes, before and after. And when a student is struggling, it's our responsibility to notice, pull them aside, and give them some additional help so that we can help prepare them for the long road. And just these extra help creates a connection with the student that allows them to, or gives them that feeling that I'm being included, I'm being pushed, I'm being supported on my journey. So in order for the student to qualify for promotion test, or as we call it in our Dojang, rank testing, they must complete all the necessary requirements, which you saw on the previous page. So part 1, stripe testing or chapter testing. Part 1 is fundamentals. Fundamentals are your stances, punch, block, thrust, strike, kicking techniques. Chapter 2 is patterns and step sparring. I put these together because they both involve coordination and synchronization. So when I explain to a parent what our system is, part 1 is the core element of Taekwondo. Part 2 is our coordinated or memorized movements that are synchronized either with a partner or alone. Part 3 is sparring drills, self-defense. And what we do is we have the practical application this way, where they will do reaction time, they will do explosiveness and different drills to show the realism, where they're going to go out and show that the techniques work. And then part 4, the physical test, and part 5, the knowledge and understanding. For part 5, we actually have an open book test that we give every student, and it's on average 25 multiple choice questions based off of the material from parts 1 through 4. Moving on, this is what a stripe testing card would look like. This is for white belt, as you can see the picture of the white belt, and stripe number 3, which is the sparring and self-defense. So we have a criteria of 5 elements. In order to pass the technique, they must get a 4 out of 5 in all areas when going through the list. So we have like a sparring stance, we teach them to bounce, to switch sides, to be relaxed on the spot. We do a movement drill, which is stepping forward and backward, which is similar to when you step forward or backwards in a walking stance, except you're in a sparring stance, and when you go forward, you're attempting to show a kick, like bend the knee, spring the knee, basically like you are attacking going forward. When you go backwards, you are avoiding being attacked. You are moving away from an attack. And then, of course, we have an attack drill where you kick with the rear leg moving forward and throw 2 punches, or a defensive drill where you avoid being kicked, you step backwards away from the opponent, and then with the front leg, you throw a front snap kick to throw the counter attack. So we're preparing them for sparring, even though they don't spar at white belt. And of course, in our self-defense, we teach them break fall, and we start from the easiest position possible, We just have them kneel down on the mats and we let them fall forward, and they catch themselves and do like a front break fall or a back break fall from a seated position. Just roll back, chin to your chin touches your chest, and do a break fall. And then of course, cross grab is when right hand of the attacker is grabbing right hand of the defender. And straight grab is where my right hand as an attacker is grabbing the left hand of the defender. And so when they run through this, this is the practical application from the other two stripe testing cards. If you don't like to use stripes, we have a kind of a passport book where they can use this instead, where they can get tested and they can get the signature from the instructor inside of the booklet. And it goes through all the different techniques that they're going to be going through throughout their white belt career. But what it does is it sends them questing for the knowledge and for the skills. So part 2, once they've completed all the requirements, we're going to skip through the tournaments and seminars for now. Everybody's in this, especially in this room, is very familiar with ITF competition and ITF seminars, but we'll talk about promotion testing. So once a student has earned their stripes or completed the chapters, they may now apply for the rank test or promotion test. In the promotion test, they are going to be performing everything. Now, if you're a higher level, we actually ask for different techniques from the previous levels as well. And this is fundamentals, physical test fundamentals, kicking drills, patterns, step sparring, sparring drills, and free sparring beyond green stripe, self-defense, board breaking, and board breaking is for yellow belt and up in our school. We actually have 3 different sizes of boards. So different students at different body weights and different body mechanics and ages can all share the same opportunities to break boards without the same risk of injuries. This is what a white belt test sheet looks like. As you can see, it's broken down in physical tests at the start, fundamental hand movements, fundamental kicking movements. I call them patterns or forms because we know Saju Judiki and Saju Maki are not really patterns. And then, of course, sparring and sparring drills. And then when you look on page 2, the self-defense. And then, of course, the oral test questions like the Taekwondo oath, the tenets of Taekwondo, who is the founder of Taekwondo, and the birthday of Taekwondo, which we're celebrating today in this wonderful, amazing 24-hour Zoom conference. Then part 3, the redos, and I'm very excited to share this with you. I hope that if you take one thing away from this, I hope this is one of them, because redos are when a student is not able to perform a technique up to standard. When we test our students and they pass, there's always something that they struggled with or had trouble completing. A redo puts the checks and balances into their program where you don't give them the level until they show you the thing that they weren't able to complete. So for instance, let's say a white belt tested and they struggled on Sajumaki on the left side or on the second side. And so the instructor knows that, yes, they did everything else on the test and they passed. But if you don't require them to work on the pivots on the other side, there's now going to be a skill that is lacking going forward in their training. We want to be able to teach our students, whether they're children, teenagers, or adults, we want to teach them to develop all the necessary skills that follow them to the next belt level so that they don't fall behind and they don't have a bigger problem later. And so they have, by the way, going back on the redos, we have usually a 2-week period between our testing and our graduation. So graduation is part 4. As you can see here, we have the table set up, the students' names on the certificates, the belts laid out very nicely. And so what we do is we promote them at a graduation to elevate the serotonin of the student, but I'll get into that. And we basically publicly recognize our students in front of the entire student body community or whoever is able to be there that day. And we don't just do that, but we mix our graduation with potluck dinners. This is a great way to elevate the culture. And as you can see, we have over 100 people in our dojang. And if you see the logo on the back wall, that's where the graduation takes place. So we bring the belts and we have a PA system. We put on some inspiring music. And when everybody's finished their dinner, I give everybody 15, 20 minutes to change and put on their dobok so that the instructors can be the first person to tie the new belt around the children's, the teenagers, and even the adults love being promoted in this way, where they don't just receive their belt at the testing, where they're exhausted or tired, or just in class, because the idea is to be publicly recognized. So the benefits of this system: it promotes serotonin, which instills confidence. Serotonin is a social chemical that helps build confidence, happiness. It helps create status in our spirit. A lot of times, if you look at what different ways we have serotonin, is by buying a fancy car and then driving around and seeing that fancy logo, buying fancy clothes and having the label on the outside. But this serotonin is not real, true serotonin because it doesn't last. When you earn a belt and you have a group of families cheering for you, clapping for you, taking pictures of you receiving your belt, what happens is you develop the confidence knowing you had to do all the work to get this far. You had to correct the mistakes along the way. And now you're being recognized for all the hard work. The other benefits of these potlucks is that it builds friendships between the different families. There are many families that come into my school, sometimes even when their child doesn't have a class, just to continue socializing because they've all become a very strong and healthy community. This promotes healthy social atmosphere, so we are giving our children and giving our students a very safe place to build their social skills outside of just regular training. And of course, when you bring families together like this and it's a potluck where everybody brings something, a little side joke, the food is incredible. You get different dishes. As you can look at the picture of the people attending, you have so many different cultures, so many people from different backgrounds, and they're all bringing different foods. It's incredible. Everybody is well fed, everybody, and nobody has to spend any money because they're all bringing food cooked from home. That's it for now on this one. So this is pretty much the graduation, and of course, everything would start over again. If you want to do a screenshot and take my information down, and you want me to share some more information, I have so many systems that I've been learning through different business coaching and different martial art coaching. And like I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation, I am just super passionate and dedicated to helping any school owner out there ignite that culture within their school and reap the benefits of having not only talented students that can go to the world championship and win, but also being good characters in their community by having a safe place to call home where they get everything all in their dojo. So thank you very much, everybody.
Okay, amazing, amazing, uh, amazing presentation, Master LeGrow. Very inspiring, very clever. I think we are waiting for some questions because we have a couple of minutes. In the meantime, I would like to ask you. I will try to make a simple question because one of the things we try to teach the students is the patience. And you mentioned the social media and what is going on now with the youngest people. So the instant satisfaction the youngest people needs.
Yes, sir.
So if do you deliver the belt in the same time of the exam or you wait?
No, sir.
No, you
No,
wait.
sir. So everybody, so what'll happen is we have the testing. So like for instance, my next testing coming up is April 18th, which is the Friday for white belts and yellow stripes. And we do the white belt test Friday during class time. And then the color belt testing will be Saturday. And we'll have a session for intermediate in the morning and a session for advanced in the afternoon. Now that's April 18th, 19th. Our next graduation potluck will be Friday, May 2nd. So it gives the students 2 weeks to polish up anything that wasn't up to par. And I see that Grandmaster Vitali is still in the room. Thank you, sir, by the way. This system has elevated the level from when I had my school in Canada to having the school in the United States. So I want to give the correct, what is it called? The praise and the recognition to this came from Grandmaster Vitali, who is in the room right now. This idea came from how my wife was brought up in Taekwondo in Brooklyn, New York. So this is not my, like the redo system is not my system. And so one of the things that I'm going to quote Grandmaster Vitali, what he said to me was, even you have a world level athlete, sometimes they don't give their full focus because it comes easy to them. So you have to find a way to be a better instructor and give them a redo so you get better energy and you get more from them so that you can also develop your top athletes. And so it becomes a very interesting dynamic where when we're sitting to watch them, we have to know our students very well before they attend grading, because we want to make sure that we give them the right attention to just pass them. And I've made this mistake before too, where I've had some really talented students and I did not give them a redo and I let them go through the system a little quicker. And by the time they got their first bump in the road, they were ready to give up because they'd never had those bumps in the road before.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Here we have a question. Do you have any lesson learning to share? Something you feel has been improved at your school?
That's a great question. Yes, sir. Okay, so the first, when I was getting ready to move, my wife is American and I'm Canadian. And when I moved to the United States, I was scared because when we look on the news, the media, especially I'm sure right now, there's a lot of other countries around the world looking at the United States like a big evil conglomerate. And it's interesting when you are in a place, how everybody else looks at that place. And I looked at America the same way I'm pretty sure much of the world is looking at it now. I moved to the US in 2015 and I was very scared. In fact, I brought my dog with me and my dog wanted to get out of the car and run away every chance because my dog had no idea what was going on. So I kept thinking, maybe I need to go back home. It was the first time I saw my mother cry the way she cried when I left home. And when I was traveling, I realized that starting over is a lesson that all of us should do from time to time. And so like when I was coming back, moving to California, I had an opportunity to say, what was missing in my training? What's missing in me as a leader? So every time you get the opportunity to take a step back and start over, you get a chance to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what do I need to do to be better?
Someone said, Stephen, as a mother of black belt, I agree about your experience because my son gets his university scholarship with this great sport.
Okay. I think everybody might have heard this social media clip where Denzel Washington talks about like a son's first love is his mother, and a mother's last love is her son. Her last true love. A boy's first true love is his mother, and a mother's last true love is her son. So it was very difficult to leave Canada, leave my school. I had a school for 14 years in Canada before I moved to the States. But once I switched my mindset and understood that I now have an opportunity to fix many things about myself, and I'm starting with a clean slate, it was a chance to say, this is the person I want to be. And when people started talking about politics and people started talking about different things, because I was an outsider, I just said, how about this? Why don't we build a strong community locally before we start judging what's happening nationally? And then before we look at what's happening internationally, let's figure out what's happening nationally once we have our local community fixed. So there's a lot of like little lessons that I've learned along the way. And as a competitor, I'm pretty sure anybody who competes in patterns and is very analytical about every movement, we can become very judgmental about everything we see outside of us. And then sometimes we need to start looking inwards and say, before I judge something else, maybe I need to fix my own mistakes first.
Interesting. Very interesting. We have a comment of Grandmaster George Vitali. We would like to take the chance because thank you very much, Grandmaster George Vitali. He said, I lost the message. Wait a second, please. Every test, every advancement is an individual one. Therefore, each student needs to be compared to themselves. Are they improving? So if you don't push them, if we don't really test them, we are surveying them out of growing opportunities. What do you think, sir?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I 100% agree. Grandmaster Vitali is not someone I can often find a disagreement with. I recently did my 8th degree test, and I was very reluctant to do it. I don't like testing. I don't like testing with the minimum time. I like to do as much effort into my own development as I can. So for me, even though I'm at this level, I never ask to test. I got in trouble with my own organization because I didn't even make the application. But I was told by the 4 people that I have trouble saying no to do this. And one of the main reasons I looked inwards on myself was I looked in the mirror one day and didn't look at the fact that I'm, losing all my hair or everything's turning white, but I looked at myself in the mirror and I tried to remember last time I tested, who was I? I didn't have any children. My school was just becoming successful in the United States. And I looked at my personality. How did I deal with things? What was my emotional intelligence like? What was my mental fortitude to be able to accept, different things, how I lived, how I pushed, how my work ethic was. And then when I looked at where I am now, I don't recognize myself. I've become someone that 10 years ago, I would have said, there's no way I could ever achieve that. And when I started to look at that, and so one of the people who told me I needed to do it was Grandmaster LeGrow from the technical committee. He is my mentor in the ITF, my instructor, also who's retired. He was a 7th degree for 20 years. Over 20 years. And he called me up, and I don't want to pass him. He's my instructor. But he told me, I'm retired. You're active. You need to do this. So my own instructor pushed me to do it. And then, of course, Grandmaster Lan, who I've been training with since 2008, he called me up and said, I have to do it. So when all the main people who tell me it's your time, not I have the time or my time is up. I find too many people use this expression, my time is up. And I say, but you're very healthy. You're alive and well. Our time is not up. But when the mentors that I can no longer say no to say something, this is the time.
Well, Master LeGrow, thank you very much for all your knowledge you have shared with us.